The following story has been brought to you by StoriesToInspire.org.
Melech Biderman has a beautiful story that somebody told him that this Yid has an organization in Yerushalayim and he gives out food for people for Shabbos. And he came across the Atlantic Ocean to Bar Park to collect money. Made one special trip. And Baruch Hashem, he arrived here healthy. And Baruch Hashem, he stayed in Achnasas Archim house and he had breakfast, lunch, and supper. And Baruch Hashem, his kids were happy. The only thing is he hadn't made a red cent yet. So somebody told him about a Gevir that lives in a certain place, which we'll go unmentioned. And I'm telling you, get him at the right moment. If you get an appointment with him, it's Kedai to go. So he said, where does he live? He told him where he lives. How far is it takes about 6 hours to get there. He says, 6 hours. I'm only here a certain amount of days. If it takes 6 hours to get there, I could lose it. Like, I don't know if it's Kedai. He says, no, I'm telling you, go. Yeah, you don't understand. I could lose it. I don't know if it's Kedai. Go! So he decided to take a chance. He went. And his friend said, I'll drive you, okay? And he drove him 6 hours, and they got there, and the guy took them in, and he sat down, and he gave them a suda. It was very nice. So with this Gevir, two things, okay? Don't look at the check, and don't give him an amount, okay? And he tells them, there are certain families that if I wouldn't give them for Shabbos, they would have Levin Friday night, and they would have tuna fish Shabbos afternoon, and for Shalosh Shudas, they would have the leftover emmets from last weekend. So he said, okay, he cut them a check, and of course they weren't supposed to look at the check, and they walked out, and he wanted to look at the check. He said, don't look, there are still eyes over here. And he walked a little further, and he got into the car, and they looked at the check, and basically, Gewalt, it wasn't enough. Today to say it wasn't enough to pay for the gas, that could have meant that he gave them a $20,000 check. It still wasn't enough to pay for the gas. But in those days, okay, it wasn't enough to pay for the gas. And he wasted a whole day. So the driver who took him was very tzibrachim, because it was his idea. He says, this guy, you got to catch him at the right moment. And he says, I did my shtadlis. They got back to Bar Park, a lot of traffic. Got back to Bar Park at 2:30, 2:45. They went to Shemesh Shabbos, Daven Marav. And somebody slaps him on the back. And he spins around and he sees this Gevir who lives in Bar Park, who he has been trying to get a hold of for a while. But when he calls him, he goes, the Google recipient that you have reached is ask you please never to call him again as long as you live. Something like that, the message, something like that. And he couldn't get a hold of him. And all of a sudden they meet and he says, you got me in a good mood, he said, 3 o'clock in the morning, coming back from Emunah Chasana or something like that, he says to him, talk to me. And they sit down on a bench, and he tells him his whole story, and he adds what happened today, and here he is, and so many people are dependent on him, and the guy cuts him a check for $18,000, which was enough for the gas, maybe. But my point is as follows. Then he said, look, I had to travel 6 hours away to come back to Daven Shabbos, to Daven Marav, 3 o'clock in the morning, Hashem Shabbos, to get the check. So we don't know. We think, it's a failure, I'm trying, where's my life going? No. Relax. Sit back.
Enjoyed this story? Come again. Bring a friend. StoriesToInspire.org